Morning, Suze.
Morning.
The Muse.
So,
how are you?
I'm okie dokie for a bank holiday. It's another day. It's just another day.
Yeah, it is. It's just another day, isn't it? But we were just talking, weren't we, about business actually, being self-employed and the things that we do and the things that you don't do.
Mm.
And I thought it'd be really good for us to have it, because it's real life, isn't it? It is real life. It's, you know, it's happening. And like, you know, there's so many pitfalls in business, isn't there, that we fall into. It's like, oh, come and sign up with this and this, you know, I've done this and that, and this. That's amazing. Yeah, that worked for you, but that ain't necessarily going to fucking work for me. I think it's so important, isn't it, that connection with.
It's that change, because if we've been doing it for a while and then seen all the pitfalls that we've been through, where it's like, it's really clinging on kind of energy, like, oh God, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and it really mushes you, rather than, you know, it's not. It's not the flow.
Yeah, it's not flowing, because it's that, and it's like, what is driving that, you know, that behavior. And it's looking at that is, and it's like this desperate need to be acknowledged and validated and accepted. But actually, you don't need to do that. Why do you need that?
But it's again like that.
But again, I think it's just part and parcel, isn't it, of the journey. Like, we learn at some point, we recognise that when we recognise that we're doing that, we can stop and go, actually, yeah, why? I don't need to be on every freaking social media platform. I don't need to be telling everyone this is what I'm doing, because the right people will naturally just navigate. Anyway, that's my experience.
Yeah, but if you're working organically from your heart, it happens naturally. It doesn't need the pull and push.
Exactly.
It doesn't need, you know.
Yeah. I did an event, because I do events, the Mind Body Spirit events, and I was doing the aura readings, but I was doing the encaustic art, and I know that there was people coming over and watching while I was doing it. I didn't get to say hello because I was so in the space and having so much fun and joy. But what's happened, that energy has radiated out, and I got an email the other day from a couple of people, can we come and do, you know, will you do us one of those readings? I'm like, yeah, sure. So yeah, it just comes, isn't it? Like, we don't need, again, I didn't force anything. I didn't have to go, oh, look at me, and fucking 101 videos, like, just to say, hey, how awesome I am. I know I'm fucking awesome. I don't need to tell the world that. Only I need to know that. That's it.
That's it. Big yourself up. You don't need anybody else to big you up and say, I'm a genius. I can do this. I know I can do this. But we don't do that, do we? We don't do that. We fall into the pit of that.
Because it's been ripped out of us, and then it's told, oh God, you're so egotistical and you're this, that, the other. And actually, no. Actually, there's nothing wrong with going, actually, I'm fucking awesome at what I do. There's a difference between being an arrogant twat and actually being confident within that. But again, that's a whole perception thing, isn't it? Is like, is that confidence or is that arrogance? Like, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, but I love it, Rose, because your perception can change just in that instance, and it can.
Exactly.
And you don't need loads and loads of work to do on yourself. If you're noticing something, that there's some self-sabotage or something, just ask and just be with it, and just be okay with it. Everybody has the same thing, you know, but nobody really talks about these. It's just like, you know, doing work on yourself consistently, you know.
Yeah, I think loving yourself, every day. Nurturing yourself every day. That's all we need to be doing. We need to be being in them spaces. And yes, it's okay to love yourself even when you're pissed off. That's the most important time to be loving yourself, because we've been taught that if we get upset, or, you know, where we've had what's been deemed as a tantrum now, you know, with the little ones, that's not okay and it's bad, and we punish children for doing that. So we grow up with that belief system that, you know, oh God, if I express my emotions, I'm going to get punished. let's just suppress them. But actually, we need to love them and we need to nurture what's going on, because like we said last week, they're just emotions. They're just passing through. Some things need to be acknowledged. Some we just let it go. We don't need to pay attention to that and give it a story or give it energy, because the more we're in that headspace and going blah, 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 and it's like that. I don't know about you, but this like full moon that we've had has brought, I felt that last week. My head was like that. And I'm like, so because obviously the work I do now, I'm like, oh, okay, so like we're doing that today, are we? Okay, fine. But I'm like, I need to ground back into my body and get out of my headspace. And while I'm aware that there's a purpose with this kind of head mess at the moment, running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, I don't have to like get into it and be like, oh, right, I just need to get grounded back into, like you say, the present moment and like what is actually happening now. What do I need to focus on? Like what's important right now that's going to support me and my well-being? I think that's really important.
And how we touched on it last week, though, Rose, about love and acceptance, and we are going to talk about acceptance, but love and acceptance are really important. It's what we need as children to grow. But as we get older, we start to realise, well, we do it at a very early age, to realise that it's not acceptable to be heard. It's not acceptable to be seen. And that's all these old patterns that come up. But when you're aware of that, and, you know, all children are here to want to love and accept. Everybody is. We still have that loving, accepting ability, but it's how we were made to feel, because nobody has to tell you that they don't accept you. It's the way people make you feel, or if you've done something, nobody actually turns around and says, well, I don't accept you. I don't. It's the way you actually feel. It's that internal stuff that's going off within you, trying to understand a world that's quite opposite to what the truth is.
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting, and we cannot allow the lack of somebody else's love to determine and who we are and who we want to be. And you know, but it is difficult, you know, like, well, I don't know if it was yourself who was having this conversation, but I'm saying, like, literally from conception, we are fucked. We're fucked from conception. We're straight away codependency, straight away. And it's one of those really hard things to break away from, because we are, aren't we? We're codependent on straight away that body, that being, the mother, to nurture and take care of us.
Well, like we said,
and a lot of our stuff
about the separation, that you are love and acceptance, but we've separated ourselves along the way because of the stories, because of the conditioning, that we don't really believe that we're loved or accepted. So that's the kind of the mindfuck you're on about, really, ain't you? Because they're the two most important things, and they're the things that send you do-dally, because you may not say it on a, you know, anybody can say what they want to say, but it's how you're feeling inside of you, because there's something within you that's saying you're not acceptable, you're not lovable. That's not on the outside. You can say it to anybody and do that on a day-to-day basis, but how are you really feeling inside? And, you know, people don't want to talk about feeling inside because we're so distracted into the outside world rather than the inner reality of who you are.
Yeah, it is. And it's so easy to, because we're taught that, aren't we? We're taught to project out and let's look outside of us, because, well, you know, you've just shown me that I'm not worth loving, because that's the story that's now created in there. So, well, and it's like, where can we put that love? Where can we put that? So what we'll do is we connect with people, we draw them in that mirror us, and we give all that love to them rather than loving ourselves. And it's so important, like from an early offset, that we start that nurturing process, that nature and nurture.
And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It's all about setting the intention that you're going to be loving and accepting, and you put that out to yourself. You're doing it anyway, but then be aware of how you really feel about those words within you. And if you feel a twinge within the day, go back to it and then either journal or, like you said, sit with it, or, you know, dance it out, do something, you know.
Yeah, but no, I'm just going to say, so I saw this quote, but how you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. I'm like, it's so true.
That
It
is.
is. It is. So,
So
you
remember
know, and
when,
I'm like, it's true.
yeah, just listening to that and then thinking about your own upbringing or your own conditioning and how I still have times where I'll push somebody out the way. And I don't mean to, but it's like I said, on the outside, you
Yeah.
can say whatever you
Unconscious.
want. Yeah. And then all of a sudden something happens and you are back in that place, but you're not your behavior, but then something in your behavior still says, like you said,
Yeah.
unconsciously, it's kicking off and we don't even know about it.
Yeah. And it is interesting because, well, you know, I work with the moon cycles as well. And this moon is all about that relationship harmony. But like I've said, it's about the relationship we're having with ourselves, not outside of us. Because when we bring that back into flow and alignment, that outside world takes care of itself. We don't actually influence or need to do anything with that. It's not to say that if words need to be said, you don't have conversations, or please, you know, that's just as important part, but it's the conversation we're having here first and foremost that needs to be addressed, if you like. And yeah,
so
loved.
many of us are not aware of the words that we're using for ourselves. So I think it's really important to be aware, because the more you become conscious about what you're saying to it, it's only then that you can say, yeah, I've been speaking to myself like that for all my life. And that's when you can make those changes. And that's when it just happens because you're really aware of it. But you can go through years and years of that self-talk of, you know, maybe somebody criticized you as you were growing up. Maybe you're good at taking, you know, well, we live in a judgy society, so it's very easy for us to judge ourselves. So we may come across as not judging anybody else, but you're judging yourself consistently, but without even realizing it. So I think it's really important, but you're only going to have those moments. It's only when you're in the now or listening to a conversation and you're really fully present, because remember, we're not really that good at listening because we're listening through our own filter. We're not, because if you were listening,
that's true.
If you were truly listening,
and it is practice.
Yes,
it's practice. Like I had it the other week with I was chatting with my son, and I was like, blah, 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 and I just needed to just vent off basically. And in that moment, he was trying to fix, and I said to him, "Stop! I don't need fixing right now. I don't need an answer. I know what I need to do, but I need to vent this off." I said, "So can I just have this space and let me be? And can you not get frustrated with me while I'm..." And it was so nice to be able to actually voice what I needed in that moment. With like, I don't need you to answer me. I don't need you to get frustrated. So can you just let me just go blah? Because I know 9 out of 10 times through that blah, my answers actually come out in that blah, 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 blah. In that verbal diarrhea, somewhere in that wisdom and truth flows out. But I think
it was
we need
open,
to be able
it was
to
honest. When you're open and honest, it's going to flow. The truth will come, because
and it does. And I love that. And I love that I am aware of that now, because there were times when I never used to be aware of that. I would be like, my mouth would run at 1,000 miles an hour, and that would be it. And I never saw my truth. This is why I love like journaling. I think it's amazing, because you can write all that verbal diarrhea, let it all fall out, but somewhere in there, your truth, that wisdom that you hold in you, is there, and it comes. We've got to allow it, just allow that space to do that. So yeah, sometimes a cup of tea, good listening ear, that's all you need.
And even if you feel that resistance while you're writing, don't matter, carry on writing. Just write, or I can sense resistance or whatever, and just let it out. But it's easy said than done, because when you're in it, sometimes you can't see it and you just give up, you know. But
and it is, and I think, like we were saying, it's the conditioning of the younger self that's been told that's wrong, is bad, you know, and all the other stories that come with that, like, you know, you're not enough, or your story of not being enough because someone's inability to be able to love you unconditionally. or show
And
you
the
that
more,
affection and show you the attention.
and the more you do this, sometimes you'll find there's an inner punisher anyway, trying to punish you. So you have to work through that as well. So I think that every time there's just a process or something that happens, but it's your own doing sort of thing, because you've taught yourself to punish yourself because it was easy for, you know.
That was your norm.
Yeah.
You didn't know, didn't know any different. That was your norm. Like, you know, I laugh about, you know, my growing up and stuff like that, and even from my conception and all that. Like, I had no chance, literally had no fucking chance, right? When you're looking at it from a human logical perspective, two parents addicts, addiction run all the way through both sides of the family, on both, so men and women. Addiction was there, whether it's smoking, gambling, drinking, womanizing. It all came out in different ways. Food, like obsession. So it was like, I look at it and go, fucking hell, I didn't really stand a chance. Like, you know, but actually I did stand every single chance, because I'm here now. I'm not addicted to anything that I'm aware of anyway, but I think that we all have little addictions somewhere in there, but not like, it's like not obsessive, like, you know, how addiction can be when it takes over, and it is that suppression of emotions, isn't it? But when you're growing up, you don't know that. That's all you know. So well, when you're like, when I was a teenager,
it's like a stolen childhood, and the child would blame themselves, and you'll still have that habit running within you of punishing yourself because you're supposed
I had a lot of anger.
Yeah, I think we all have anger.
I had a lot. And I had a lot of rage as well, especially with my parents, because I did start smoking, and you'd get told off for that. And then it was drinking. But then the best one was when I come home stoned. First time I'd ever smoked. And what was it? So I staggered in. I'm thinking I'm walking normal. This is how fucking high I was. I mean, I was only like 14, 15. Come in, totally mashed off my head. Go to the bathroom, and I come out, and I remember my father coming out, and he's like, look at me. And I flopped on the stairs, and I just started giggling. And he's like, I said, look at me. So I'm trying to lift my head up, but I'm so smashed I can't hold myself up. I've been laying on the floor at some point during the night outside on the green. And then he looked at me and went, oh, you've been drinking again. I was like, no. And started laughing at him. And he's gone mental. I remember him like, fuck, F this, F that, screaming at my mother. I somehow called up the stairs, got into my bed. My mom comes up. She's like, look at me. And I'm like this, like literally flopping everywhere. She was like, I'm disgusted. Best night's sleep I ever had. But those things that go in there, yet they were heroin addicts. Like, and again, they're disgusted with it. Well, you fucking created this. It's your lack of love, your inability to connect with me and understand me that's leading me on this path right now. And yeah, I'm responsible for my actions, but I am fucking clueless at 14 and 15 that I actually have the power at this moment in time to change that path, because I don't know any different. And yeah, and it is funny, like I laugh about it now because I can, because I've done the healing, I've done the forgiveness with it all. But yeah, and it's crazy how that, you know, two people that are addicts literally demoralizing you and making you feel shame for being, when they're doing the same bloody thing themselves. And it's that whole projection of what they feel about themselves at you that then you end up absorbing in, and then that becomes your truth and your reality when it's not. And it's so difficult, I think, when we're young like that to not internalize that. Because what the fuck do we know? What the fuck do we know? Unless you're growing up in a beautiful community.
Yeah, that's when you start thinking you're wrong, don't you? And you start building the belief within you that you are wrong when you've had such a stolen childhood. And the rebel was kicking out then. The rebel was really letting you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm very rebellious. Yeah, I never listened. I was like, even now, don't fucking tell me what to do. That's...
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a way to talk to me. Like, if you want me to hear you, there's a certain way that I need to be spoken to. But coming at me like that, I'm like, fingers up, fuck you. Like, no, mate. So like, there's some, there's the element of control. I think that just no. That's how I see it. And I think it is because the way that they lived their life, the way that they were, all that projection, there was some hostility within that from me, because somewhere in me, I knew it wasn't right, but didn't know how I could keep being told, no, you're wrong. Well, actually, no, I'm right, actually, for what I'm feeling, and having that dictated to you, it was kind of like a bit control. It was like controlling, like someone telling you, no, that's wrong, this is how you feel and this is how it's supposed to be. Well, no, why is it supposed to be like that? That's not my experience in this moment. That's not what I'm freaking experiencing. I think it's so important, isn't it, to just be aware of those things and keep loving ourselves, and going back. Like, I have a friend does amazing work, inner child work, and absolutely amazing, and she does help with that, going back in and teaching others to go and love that younger self, and that it's okay to do that. So, and one of the things I've had to learn and let go of all that judgment around addiction and love that aspect, because that is a genetic thing that's been passed down. And that's, that's what it is. Why I'm not going to hate myself for that. And if I can't hate myself for that, then I'm not going to hate the people around me that have done it. I might not like what they've done, and there's a difference. But this is where the healing and the forgiveness comes in. So when we're, like we say, when we're loving ourselves unconditionally, we have to love all those parts, even the addictive parts, the upset parts, the aggressive parts.
And we have to learn to love and accept ourselves so that others will love and accept us, because it won't work the other way around. If we don't love and accept ourselves, we can't expect anybody else to love and accept ourselves. And acceptance is all about that acknowledgement of accepting, even though it's not going right for you right now. I'm having to accept it right here, right now, even if I'm not, And not only that, you've touched on it, the awareness. The awareness is key. Self-awareness is key for everything.
No.
Yes.
But it comes. Those powers of wisdom fall out, they leak out. It's all there, always there. It's just opening yourself up and not being afraid of, like I said last week, not being afraid of those aspects of the self that have been suppressed, fragmented,
it's just
pushed away.
And accepting where you are, like you said, accepting of just, right, I accept that I'm feeling like this right now, And remembering you're not that feeling, something's come up for you to, especially with anger, we start to believe we are the anger when we're not the anger. But it's really hard to get into the character of who you are, rather than stepping aside and realizing that I'm not that anger.
Just observing, isn't it? But it comes with practice. We didn't wise up to this because we just woke up one day and was like, right, fucking yes, that's the truth. We learned that by peeling back those layers and being in that stillness with ourselves, and even being in stillness with people around us as well. You can still find that stillness even when you're surrounded by people, and just observing, and not, like we say, non-judgment of what's going on. You're breaking habits of a lifetime, and not just a lifetime, we're breaking ancestral, from the moment we decided we were separate, we're healing all that all the way back to whenever that bloody was.
if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to do it, because so many people break up and so many families break down because of this. They believe the behaviors, they believe they can't stick together, can they? Because they just get so into it. I thought that was a peace sign, but let's go. Last thoughts on acceptance, or anything to finish off?
I want to say, look at acceptance as nutrition for your mind and your body and your spirit.
Mm.
You want to give your body good stuff. You want to feed it nutritious. So feed that mind with that nutrition of acceptance.
Mm.
Make a nice little recipe. Acceptance, allowing, acknowledgement. Makes a nice little recipe there for self-love.
Mm.
Mix it up in a nice bowl. Put it in some cake. No eggs for me. Don't like eggs.
Yeah, be mindful of the words, and sometimes you don't need the words. It's just being aware of it all.
Okay. Wow. Please, just get involved in the conversation. If you want to leave a comment, have a chat with us, just shout. You can maybe join us next time and we'll have a cup of tea in the chat. Explore some more.
That'd be great.
Oh, no, I'm pushing